Hey everyone, this is Andrew for ABELI Reviews, and today we're going to do a walkthrough for one of my absolute favorite games, Elite Dangerous. For those of you that aren't aware, Elite Dangerous is a space flight simulation game developed and published by Frontier Developments. The player takes on the role of a pilot of a spaceship and explores a realistic one-to-one scale open-world representation of the Milky Way galaxy. With the gameplay being very open-ended. Essentially, there is no campaign. It is your story. You can essentially make your way through the galaxy any way you would like. Be that as a space trucker, right? You wanna trade goods. As a pirate, a mercenary, an explorer. There's a great portion of the galaxy, of the Milky Way galaxy, that has not been explored. You can pretty much do whatever you want in this game. And it's really, really cool. It is a fairly complex game, so that's why I thought it'd be good to do kind of a little beginner walkthrough. I would not consider myself an expert at all, especially at many aspects of this game, from mining to trading to the commerce stuff. But I still have a really good time with it, even in my limited sort of understanding of all the things you can do. I find myself constantly coming back to this game. And I just find it very fun and kind of relaxing to hop in my spaceship, go do some missions, or go hunt for bounties and look for pirates. So yeah, I thought I would walk everybody through kind of some of the gameplay, some of the mechanics of the game, and then we can go on there from there. If you have any questions, do feel free to drop them in the comment section, and we'll try our best to answer them or point you in the right direction. But without further ado, let's sort of dive in. So what do you see right here? This is one of the spaceships that I currently am flying and own. It is the Crate Mk2. It is a sort of medium range fighter, and I'll kind of give you a little view of it. I'm in sort of this cool camera mode at the moment. But essentially, this one is built for exploration and fighting, at least for me and how I've sort of built my ship out. You can customize basically any ship to sort of your liking. And the reason why I'm kind of in this sort of third-person picture mode is to kind of just give you a breath of scale. Let's rotate out a bit. Of just how large this ship is in comparison to my character. That's my character there on the port side of the ship at the front. And then you can see just the absolute scale of this. And this is by far not one of the largest ships. Not at all. My ship, this particular one, can hold 3 people. So fairly small, and people, I guess, I mean like NPCs, but you can also have an additional crewmate join you. But just to kind of give you an overall understanding of the scale of this ship, it is massive, and the scale of this game is mind-boggling. And that is because, again, it is a one-to-one comparison of the Milky Way galaxy. And I'll kind of give you an example of what that is and what that means as we go through sort of the UI and the pieces of this. But this is me just, I've landed on one of the planets, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of give a little demonstration of just sort of the scale of the ship. But let's get out of this view. Now we're in first person mode, so we can get back onto our ship. So I'm gonna hop down. I'm on kind of a hazardous planet, so we won't want to spend too much time here. But yeah. So you enter your ship via the sort of runway right up into the crew section. So we'll hop in here. What's really kind of neat is this functionality, the ability to get out of your ship, is actually kind of new to the game, at least new for me. When I started playing this game back in like 2015 or something, I think I'll bore. They didn't have the ability to get out of your ship. You were just in your ship, and you were in this sort of view that you see right here. Which is still fine, and they've slowly added more, right? There's sort of a first-person shooter aspect to this game now, where you can go after settlements on various planets and such. And then there's, of course, various stations you can fly to. Before we do that, let me kind of give you a brief walkthrough of sort of what we're looking at here. And it always does sort of feel a little overwhelming at first. And the important thing is to kind of just look past that. What you're sort of seeing here is sort of the status of your ship and whatever it is you have targeted. So on the bottom left where it says Kostenko, genetics, exploration, that's just the last thing I targeted. Kind of gives you a bit of information about it. It's an ice body planet. German Pilot Lounge is kind of the group that controls it. And the LTT 18486b, that is the system that I am in inside the Milky Way galaxy. Moving to the right, you see sort of a small little circle with a reticle, and then like a little blue circle with a black dot. That's letting you know the thing I've targeted, that lounge, that location, is behind me. If the blue circle is filled in, and we'll give examples of this as we go through, but essentially it's letting you know kind of its perspective to your three-dimensional space. Then you have the center console here, right in the center, that blue ship, that's mine. Kind of gives me just a status of my orientation. Right now I am landed. It is telling me the heat of my ship, and then of course my speed on the right, which is 0. Heat is about 24%. And then moving to the right, you see 3 blue bars. Those are my my shields. And I can even look. We're gonna disembark first. We'll hold this in so we can go. Essentially, we're gonna start to take off, so we get out of here a little bit. Perfect. But you can see my shields are 100%, so all of that is good. And then the 100% below that is my ship's integrity. So now we are essentially, I'll kind of look around the place a little bit for you. Moving more to the right, you see system, engine, wep. That's your sys, engine, edge, and wep, which is systems, engine, weapons, and then reset. You can essentially, because this is a sort of simulation of a ship, you can put more pips or points. You can allocate your resources, right? Like, like if you're a fan of Star Trek, you can say like, forward shield, stuff like that, all power to weapons. And that essentially allows you as the commander of this ship to control sort of its settings. Then you have your fuel on the right, and then your sort of mass lock. Mass lock lets you know you are too close to a large body, be a planet, a station, a large ship, to be able to kind of do that jump to sort of hyperspace, if you want to use that term. Landing gear is blue, so let's let me know my landing gear is out. I've now retracted my landing gear, and you can see even my display is different. Now it's giving me sort of that sonar around me because I'm not going to land. But when I put out the landing gear, if I were closer, it would start to recognize that the ground would be around me, make it easier for you to land. Cargo scoop, if you are somebody that is kind of mining and looking for cargo, that's where you would have those pieces too. That kind of concludes what you see on sort of this bottom panel here. In the front heads-up display, just dead center, that is essentially sort of your information about your elevation, my distance from the surface, all that kind of stuff. And you can see as we start to go forward or up and down, it's kind of giving me my pitch, my roll, all that good stuff. Right now we're not really moving. We are just sort of hovering here in space, but you can see all of those fun things are doing what they're doing. I just did a barrel roll. So we're going to kind of level ourselves out. And then let's put a little gas in the space. So now we're moving through the planet. We're going to kind of fly across here. Yeah, and then top left is sort of your communications. It lets you chat with people. You can also do voice chat, of course. Chat with like the local system, all that kind of stuff, the local planet, all that, your group, your wing, your friends. If you get any message, I guess, inboxes, messages from both missions, NPCs, character players, all that kind of stuff, you would see it there. Anybody you might be playing socially with, history of people you've flown with, if you're in the squadron, and then just your settings. So that's that section. Top right is kind of your info panel. That'll tell you different pieces of information that are happening in real time. So right now, nothing is really happening. Looking kind of around, this game also does work in VR, which is really cool. We'll talk about this in a second, but you have some other panels on your right and on your left. Again, it seems like there's a lot. There really isn't because it's compartmentalized, and you don't have to engage with all of it at once. Looking on the right, this is kind of, think of everything on the right as like your status, right? Like here's just things that are happening, and here's some sort of trackings for them. So this tells me a little bit about me. I have very little exploration rank, very little combat, very little trade, no CQC rank, which is helpless. That's like the sort of, I guess, combat. You can go straight to that. Mercenary rank, all that kind of stuff. Exobiologist, yes, you can go to planets. and then like study its biology and then sell that information to people. I haven't done much of that. I have done some trading. So I'm in the trade elite level. And then, of course, my balance, which is how much credits I currently have, followed by my rebuy cost. If my ship were to crash and blow up, yeah, you have to have it insured, and you have to be able to pay that, or you will start at the very beginning. From there, you have notoriety. That kind of lets you know if you've been a bad guy or not. And then you have some other information like training details, information about you, codex for stuff, just kind of informative things. Name of my ship, there's the Crate MK2. We get into modules. This is actually really cool, and I find this to be the most fun. You can control all of the elements. These are everything I have installed in my ship. Thrusters, shield cells, shield boosters, life support. Most of the stuff we can go through at another time. But essentially, you have to manage that, right? Like, you have to manage the power, and you can see my output is at 100 and my usage is at 100. It's actually at like 100.6 or 100.8. So if I have all of my things on at once, I'm going to exceed my ship's power usage. So that's why on the right of this little Excel document here, you have priority. So you can see some of these things I feel to be very important, priority 1. But as we go down, like my weapons, they're priority 2. My cargo hatch is a priority 3. Frame shift drive, which is how you sort of jump to that light speed. Fuel scoop, how do you fill up fuel? If you don't want to buy fuel, you can go to various suns and fuel scoop. Essentially, you'll go around the sun and sort of scoop it for fuel. Think of it like a solar panel. I have a docking computer. A fighter hangar. So I actually have little ships on my ship. My ship is that big that I can have people fly around. And this is something that real people can control, or I can hire it out to NPCs. Super Cruise Assist is kind of like, I guess, it's essentially cruise control. Cockpit canopy, you need to obviously have one of those. Some of these things you can't control the status. They are just priority 0, essentially. They are the most. So sort of data links, scanners, some they just don't use power also, right? Like, but either way, and I'll kind of give a demonstration. So what's going to happen is I've set my order just a little bit, right? There's just a little bit I'm over. I'm still not 100%, but I'm just over it. So my fuel scoop will get disabled when I go full on. So if I deploy everything, you can see here, my multi-cannons are out, my beam lasers, my power limit is exceeded. So certain modules get turned off so I can continue to operate. And if we look here, fuel scoop is now off, which is fine. I don't use those things at the same time. I could probably go in and like turn it off entirely if I wanted, and then just only turn it on when I wanted to. But from my perspective, it doesn't really hurt anything to be on, at least from how I know. Let's pull those away, and you can kind of see there goes my chain guns. Later, guys. Bring this back up. Fire groups. This is essentially where you set those various weapons and scanners to different controls. So my button for 1, which I'm using a controller, allows me to then have all of the beam lasers fire with 1 trigger. I probably will change that at some point. Maybe I only want to fire 1 beam laser at a time so I don't overheat the ship. Multi-cannons are 2. Then I have a shield cell bank, which is kind of like a recharger for my shield if it goes down. From there, you just have the controls of your ship, right? External lights on, night vision, landing gear. So you can set hotkeys for everything in this game. Or you can, you know, touch these panels and go to them and tell them to like do X, Y, and Z, retracted, all that fun stuff. Silent running. So if we turn silent running on, now we're going to be hidden from stuff. And my shield is now down. You can see it went to 0 because the shield creates sort of like a sonar ping. Let's turn that off. And now we're going to have to wait for the shield to recharge itself. I could boost it up, but we'll just let it go. It doesn't matter. From there, you have flight assist, all those kinds of things. I know a lot of people that are more sort of core to this experience, they're going to be like, you should do flight assist off and all those other things. I'm still working towards that, but so far I'm not a great pilot, so I do like a little bit of flight assist. And then, of course, my preferences, right? You want to show that clock, orbital lines, pre-flight checks, all kinds of cool stuff. You can really make this your own. And then you can also see how far you can jump. And I'll get to that when we get kind of to the galaxy view, and I'll show you. You can jump from system to system from your ship, and depending on the engine, how laden your cargo hold is, you can essentially choose how far around you can jump before you have to maybe, you know, make another jump and another jump or refuel, all that kind of stuff. From an inventory perspective, I'm bone dry right now, so I got nothing in here, just extra nothing. There's a lot of extra stuff to this game that I haven't gotten to yet, which is sort of a whole other thing called engineering. We'll get to that later. It's where you can like supercharge components. Again, my storage, I kind of consider that sort of the first-person perspective. Like, I do have quite a few of these things for when I'm doing the first-person stuff, like attacking settlements and things along those lines, but I haven't done a lot of those items. Then you get to your status, and this is just like the system factions that I'm currently in and how I'm sort of allied with them. So I know if I see some of these different groups, are we friends or not? So you can see here we're at 50%, so that's great. Our shield's still going through. That's the sort of, I guess, the information panel on the right. And if we look over here, and all of that, again, can be keyed to whatever you want. I'm just looking around with the joystick. This is my navigation panel, right? It says right at the top. It just sort of lets you know what you've targeted. So you can see here, Kostenko, genetics exploration, and we can see it right there too as my primary target. If we were to choose something else or unlock that as a destination, now we are just in the system. So we see the system name, who kind of controls it, all that fun stuff. The planet we're on, who sort of laid claim the system, if it's democratic or not, and what their industry is, which is industrial. And then I have sort of this list of things. So these are all of the various points of interest that are nearby, or relatively nearby, 14.9 light years. So that's just outside, right? Like I have, so if you look at 14.9, and remember we looked over here, my ship could do about 15. So that kind of lets you know within one jump, here's what you can kind of see before you'd have to do additional jumps. That makes more sense when we kind of fly around a bit. I know I haven't shown you too much, but I think it's important to kind of explain what you're seeing. Transactions, I had a contract, I failed it, didn't go well, I shot everybody in it and didn't go super well. So I'll have to probably take the L on that. But essentially it's your missions. If you have passengers, any claims, like did you get some bounties, fines, maybe I was in a system doing some stuff that I shouldn't have been, then of course bounties there. So that's just kind of like all the transactions filtered down. And then contacts, that kind of lets you know any ship or points of interest that are in range will sort of show up here. And that's really great because then you can target them. So just like I showed you all my modules, if I'm targeting another enemy ship, I could just shoot them and shoot the ship however I want. Or I could target their power supply, their oxygen, and disable their ship. So you have many ways. So right now we're not targeting anything. That's where the target panel is disabled. But when we get into a fighting situation, I'll kind of go through that. But that is essentially this experience. That's the panels. If I kind of give you a fun view, this is the interior of my ship. That's me. It just got some new armor. From this perspective, sort of the behind the scenes, right over the shoulder, you can see there's a chair to my right shoulder there. The screen's left. That's where my co-pilot could sit, so they could man the turrets or even fly one of my little ships in my cargo. So you see sort of zoomed in on that. And then this is the other one too. So you can see the first one and then the other one as well. Whoops. So we'll get out of here, kind of show those. There's the ship front again. So I kind of turned us a bit. Sorry, I forgot when I was in that camera mode, you can still control the ship. But essentially, let's go full into engines and let's get off this planet. So we're gonna get into that as sort of escape vector. And we're already lined into it. So I'm gonna launch through my frame shift drive. So it's charging and it's gonna pop us up into Super Cruise. Super Cruise is kind of like faster than light travel. And you'll see here, it actually won't look like I'm moving at all because we're essentially going faster than light. But we are actually making distance away from the planet. We're gonna start to break its orbit. And eventually my panel will change from sort of this altitude section. You can see where it says 60 or 70 kilometers, and then there's DRP, which is drop. If I hit that, I'm dropping back into the planet. We are exceeding that. So we're going to continue to sort of move forward into space. We can kind of look to our outside, and we can see we are moving away. We go back to that camera view again. We are moving further away. But that just kind of explains the scale in which we are moving and how large things are. This is a massive, actually in terms of planets it's very small, but compared to us it is very, very large. So scale actually means something in this game. The scale is 100% correct, so it is 1-to-1. So when you come onto a planet, Great, so now we are actually in Super Cruise. So we'll kind of look around a bit and do a quick turn, and I'll sort of show you what I mean. I can even see chatter happening in the system in the top left. But there's another planet kind of to our right. You can see all the pings on the sort of section here, things that are within distance to me. And then we can put stuff into sort of where we want to go next. So we're going to filter. Actually, before we do that, why don't we kind of give perspective of where we are. So I'm just going to sort of float around here, not moving, floating in space. This lets me filter all the various points of interest and stuff within that list. If I go down, you can kind of see a summary of the system. And they're having a war right now, so we can go take part in that. And there's the galaxy map and the system map. Before we get to the galaxy map, I'm going to show you the system we are currently in. So this view kind of gives you an idea, not necessarily of its structure, but just the order. Think of when you would see those solar system models, right? It would say biggest to smaller, so they just kind of put everybody in line. It doesn't actually mean that's how they're spaced together. The spacing is very different. But this kind of gives you just an overall view of where we were, which was sort of in this area here. We were on this planet. Then I can see all the points of interest that sort of orbit this sort of planetary section. I can see another interesting, so there's another terminal there, another large planet, and then so forth. And we can land on the ones that have sort of this circular up and down bar. And then you see this is a system with 2 suns and then an entire asteroid belt for mining. Now we can switch views. So instead of seeing sort of that map view, which is more just contextual where things are, we can actually see how this system works. So we are noticing there's sort of this section here. Here's one of those, and these are all the various points of interest and markers we have. So everything here is quite small. Unexplored planets, various orbits, all the good stuff there. We'll get back to the system data. So that's kind of fun there. You can also learn about the factions and the power play and all the deep stuff that's happening in space. Let's get out of here. And now, before we do anything else, let's go to the galaxy map. And I think this is just the most cool, and it really gives you a sense of scale. Again, we are in the LTT 18486 system, but it is a much larger area. And I can kind of see all the points that I can jump to from my ship. That's what these lines sort of represent. And then you can see things I've marked, things that I've found interesting, and things that I've set as a filter. And of course, you can scroll around and then set these as points of interest, and that'll tell me how I can make the jump there. Because it's so far away, I would have to jump from a few planets. But of course, the Milky Way galaxy is not a flat plane. There are things up, and there are things down, and it's everywhere. It is the actual Milky Way galaxy, and any points that have been discovered actually exist here. So then, let's zoom out, and you can really start to see the scale. So this gives you a much better picture of the various larger systems, the groups, and just how much exists in the Milky Way galaxy and how much exists in this game. So let's get into the core. Let's zoom in. Just on the plane that we were on before, every single one of these stars are systems we can go to. You can try to find your way there if you absolutely wanted to. And that is just mind-boggling to me, the scale of this space. I would bet, because I've never been here and I try to target this, it's not even available. Like, I'm too far away. I would have to do a lot of other little jumps first before I could even get there. Like, I don't have enough information about this because it's so much into the core. The system's set as anarchy. There is nobody in control in some of these areas. But I just wanted to kind of give a sense of what and how much there is to sort of experience in this game in terms of where you can go and where you want to go. For the most part, I've stayed kind of around my core little bubble here. And I still feel like I've seen a lot. And I haven't seen anything. You can kind of see this is sort of my little outreach. There's still so much more over here. We can go see these nebulas. We can go visit Earth. We could go visit Earth. We all live there, right? Like, that would be a spot we could go find. Now, I think because it's controlled by a certain group, we'll have to get in their good graces to even enter their system. But the idea is there. Like, all those things exist. And then all this stuff is just sort of different ways to filter. and kind of like find out where my other ships are. So where's this guy at? So let's zoom in. I have 3 ships. This is kind of a pure fighter, but it uses so much gas, it's kind of pointless. I can find out where that is. I have another one over here, which is my sort of shipping one. And then these are just other points of interest. We can also search. So if you know what you're looking for, you can type stuff in. Like this, I know where this area is. So where's Kinney? Right there. Boom. So it'll find those. And Kinney is right here. So we can then plot a course there. Why would you do that? Because different stations and systems sell different goods and materials and spaceships and have all the different things you might be interested in. So there's all these great resources that people have made through the sort of APIs of this game. So you sort of find out what you want to do, search where it is on a database, and then go looking for it and go flying to it. So you don't have to just fly around blind. You can kind of plot your course as you would any other trip. Again, there's so much to this, and of course we can then sort of go into that system view if we want, right? So we've selected Kinney. I can then see the same system view we saw, but for this system and all the things that are there. Another really neat thing, which you're sort of seeing here, is fleet carriers. People can actually have their own fleet carriers, which is crazy. If you are wealthy enough in this game, you can have your own massive super spaceship that people can land on, and you can sort of sell goods and stuff to it. So there's a lot. Basically what I'm trying to say, there's a lot to this game. Let's get off of this. We'll lock destination and then unlock it. So we're now back to nowhere. So that kind of is a bit about the navigations, a bit about those pieces, but you're probably asking yourself, what is actually fun in this game? Well, my favorite thing is combat, and that's where I really hope to find a partner in this, right? So we can go and attack enemies and pirates and things along those lines. So points of interest. Let's see what we've got here. There's a conflict zone. We could actually join right in. So I'm kind of playing both sides of the teams in this system. So we probably won't join the combat between those because I want the missions from both at this time. But what we can do is go hunting pirates. So the resource extraction site, I think it's orbiting one of the planets. We'll target it. I'm actually going to do Super Cruise Assist instead of just lock it. But this place, there are piracy here, people are bounty hunting, and then mines. So let's target this. And you can see now that little blue dot next to my 29 heat and the bottom panel here, if you kind of look straight at it, is blue because it's in front of me. And it's actually not that far away. So we're going to line up and we're going to start to bring our crews up. And now the ship is going to use my Super Cruise. You don't have to use these things. For me, I actually find it to be better because sometimes you want to take a drink, sometimes you want to step away, and the distances you have to travel at times are incredibly, incredibly, incredibly far. So it's sometimes nice to set Super Cruise on. Now, what it is not is an AI flying your ship. It is a straight shot. So I do have to come by and make sure we don't crash into anything, which has happened to me many times. And you can see we're kind of going faster than light through sort of the underbelly of these rings. And my guess is this resource extraction site is actually within these rings here. So this will be exciting. I'll be curious if we don't collide with the outer edge of the rings and then have to sort of recorrect, but we'll go from there. So we're heading to this extraction site. And what we're looking for is there's going to be people or NPCs, depending on how busy the system is. They're going to be mining through some of the pieces in the rings here for some sort of metal or some sort of resource. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure those miners are taken care of because they are usually being preyed upon by pirates. People that just want them to empty their cargo so they can take it, or they'll kill them, and that'll happen too. So we're going to start to fly there. You can see on the left now we have a new informational panel. It now says what we've targeted. It says it's hazardous, of course, but then it tells me the distance and the speed. If you want to have a successful, let's call it landing in this space, you need both the blues to be lined up. So my speed is a little fast. We're going to slow down. And my distance to it is still not quite there. And you can see here, we're actually having a hard time getting through. Because of the way we came in, we're actually being slowed down. And it's getting faster as we get through here. But we're being slowed down by the gravity of the planet. So we move a lot faster as we move away from stuff. I hope we don't collide with something beforehand. We might, so we'll see. We're so close to getting there, we should be okay. But yes, it looks like someone's having a wedding bar. So those are things you can do. You can be a passenger ship if you want to take people across the galaxy. But essentially, once we get closer, Super Cruise is going to drop me out, and we're going to sort of stop, and the system's going to do that. So we have just landed, or I guess stopped in this system, and that's essentially now we're free to sort of fly around. If I change my view, you can see now all the good stuff sort of happens, and now we're really in proper space combat mode. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick patrol, looking for any laser fire, looking for anybody on our scope that might want to be causing trouble. I haven't really been to this section in a little while, so we'll probably have to do a quick run through. We'll boost through to see if we see anyone. But we'll probably find a miner. Okay, cool. So right now, somebody just showed up on our radar, just on the outer scopes of it. So let's turn to get them in front of our ship. We go a little faster if we stay in the blue. There we are. Okay, so now people are popping up. That's an anaconda. His name's Fearless Sin, and I'm guessing he's wanted. Yep, he's part of the pirates. I've actually been clearing out some of these guys. So that's a big ship. I don't know if we can sort of see the scale of it, but it is huge compared to mine. We can still get him, though. I'm not terribly worried, because we've got some tricks up our sleeves. Because he is a pirate, he is going to try to scan. Yep. So some of these pirates are even scanning me because they think I might have things that they want. Let's fight this anaconda. Let's teach this guy a lesson. So I actually really want to get to that ship at some point. Fit in. Oh no, he's not. Yeah, that's the anaconda. Okay. So he's a big guy, but I have always been interested in fighting these characters. So how do we get him? So we need to create a distraction. So I have other ships that I am going to have fight with us. So I've hired this NPC to fly with me.
Okay, Commander. Initiating SLF deployment.
Yep, so we're going to control her and tell her to engage. And there she goes. So we're going to go for this guy. And while I know she's keeping him distracted, we now have a target. So on the left-hand side for him, I'm going to go after his frame shift drive. I don't want him to try to run away if he thinks he's going to. Okay, shoot. I wasn't paying attention, and we were going to crash into rocks. Oh, and it looks like he's got some friends. So I see two here. Uh-oh. Wait, no, it's just the one. No, there's two. Shoot. What do we have here? Taipan. Okay, well, no time like the present.
Fire, Commander. What are your orders?
Screw it, let's go for
Under
it.
fire. Hull at 50%. I can't find any trace of the fighter. I think it's down, sir.
Oh no. So, we lost one. Deploy! This is crazy. I've not usually had... So we're going to deploy one of our other ships. We have 2 bays. So they've targeted my friend while I was messing around. Now we're going for them. So I'm going to hit my lasers. We're trying to knock their shield out. My shield's getting boost hit, so let's do that. You can see here my shield's at 31. I did a little boost to try to fix that. This is where it's really nice to have another co-pilot, because I'm sitting here trying to do all these things at once. When it's always better to have sort of a friend that can help. All right, their shields are down. Let's let it rip. Nice. Here we go. So they did not have a strong hold. They should. This is an anaconda. Those are million dollar ships. And we are cutting through it like a hot knife through butter. So let's stay on this guy. Shields are down now. Okay, so he hits hard, but he's definitely a weaker ship. We're kind of just jousting right now. I'm trying to manage my shields. You can see it there. Yeah, run across him. I'm moving my pips around to get to my engine so I can move fast. Let's unload. We're gonna hit him with everything we have. 1%, you're done, Biden. So that was actually a really easy fight. We just got $500,000 in credits just for that guy. Let's see if that other guy that was attacking us, because I saw 2 red arrows. He could have been allied with them too. Nope, okay. So our shields are down right now, but they are recharging. Our hull integrity got to about just low 90%. We can see if anything got hurt. So for the most part, nothing was really damaged. Our sensors got hit by some of their laser fire. I'm just kind of checking the integrity of my stuff. For the most part, we're fine. Nothing really got hurt. But that's another thing. If you had a co-pilot and you have the right modules and things, they can repair stuff while you're going. Or if you have 3 people in your ship or any more, you can always do sort of those cool things. So let's have our person follow us. So they're going to kind of form up, and let's go looking for another target. That was actually kind of nice because it was just one-on-one. A lot of the battles can be far more hectic because there can be a lot of people. But I think we kind of lucked out. So what do we have here? That's a Cobra. He's probably thinking he can jump on that miner. Nope, he's just a good guy. Okay. He might be there to guard that miner. Because you could see him kind of shooting laser beams out. He's probably hitting some of these pieces here. So yep, they're a team. Yep, and look at that. He's pulling in some fragments right now. I'm guessing he's going to put those into his thing. Or those are like little pieces. Yep, it's gone. So that guy's mining stuff. Let's continue our search. See if there's anybody else around here. Kind of quiet, honestly. It's a pretty dull area. This guy's clean. Another target coming in. Way out there. So let's boost up. Okay, those are just points of interest. Like, so when that ship probably blew up, he dropped some stuff. For the most part, I don't care for pieces right now. I just go hunting, so that's fine. Our sensors haven't picked up too much else yet, so we are fine here. We're just gonna kind of fly through. And our little ship is trying its best to keep up. They are quite small comparatively. You can even see this. I'm going to show you real quick. If I deploy, I'm going to switch to my little ship. And I'm inside mine right now. We're just in. And boom, now we're out. These are crazy nimble. Very high damage, but like no shield at all. Very nimble though. They float and fly and all that fun stuff. But you can kind of see that's up there is my partner, and then here is my ship. And as we kind of get close to it, we're gonna just start to see the massive scale in difference. Oh, maybe we're too far away before I was able to give that demonstration. Let's go a little closer. There we go. There we go. So let's get right nose to nose. And there we are. My goodness. So yeah, we could pretty much melt that really quickly, but what's nice is you use these little ships as sort of distractions to kind of take care of those parts. And then they're kind of cheap, so you just make more. If I want to get out of here, I can request docking, or I could always switch. And now no one's in that ship because of reasons. It's unmanned. But to kind of give you in perspective of just how much damage we can do to it. And it's gone. Probably shouldn't have done that. They're a little expensive, but that's okay. We're just demonstrating anyways. And we'll start making more. Okay, so that was a little bit of combat. Obviously there's more to it, right? If I had turrets, my co-pilot could be using those turrets. They could be flying ships. They can be managing all kinds of different things. For the most part, this area seems pretty calm. So we're gonna do something else. We're gonna call in our partner. So let's go here, recall. This is actually kind of neat. So they're gonna fly in. You can kind of see they come in this way. They land. And that takes its own skill. Landing these things always takes practice. And then that shuts. And boom, we are back in business. So let's get out of here.
Bay doors closed. Hangar is secure, Commander.
As we sort of try to get out, we're going to head to one of the stations. So I'm going to bring up my navigation panel. And instead of points of interest, we're going to choose a station. And it looks like Boswell is very close. So let's lock that destination. We'll try to get in line with it. Look around with our head. Ooh, okay, so it's not too far away, but let's get away from the planet first. Let's jump to light speed again. We'll head towards it. I think this whole experience is really, really cool. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So let's get away from this planet and all of its fun gravity. I'm gonna target this thing. Again, you can do all of this on your own. I find this to be really cool. We align. Awesome. Okay, so Super Cruise is gonna take us through space. And we're just gonna let the ship sort of fly itself a little bit here. Again, we are kind of stuck to a planet, so it'll get a little faster when we get away from it. I might actually try to help it by pulling away, so that way we really start to go. But just the sheer like gorgeousness of this area, I find just so cool. What we can actually do instead, you know what? Instead of even doing that, let's pick somewhere else. I'm sorry, I'm changing my mind all the time. Let's go somewhere else, and we're gonna jump. So we've already been in this area. Let us choose this place here. This seems like a fun area, so we're gonna target this. We'll set that as a jump. Perfect. It is now a plotted course. So if we wanted to go there, it's been marked. Let's align with it. And we're going to start to go to that. And I'm going to do a frame shift. Drive is going to start charging. And we are essentially going to jump from one system to another. Think of it the same thing. We just left one little area. We jumped to sort of that faster than light speed. Now we're going to do a major jump to another system. And that's where you do this cool sort of warp speed situation. And it doesn't get much more pretty than this. So I'll just stay quiet when we get close. So every time you do a jump, you land at whatever star you've sort of targeted. And I'll be darned if this isn't just gorgeous. Like, this game's not super new, but it is excellent looking. So we're now in this new station, Chimunda A. I guess that's the planet. We're in Chimunda system. So let's look for some stations and fleet carriers. Actually, we'll just do a station first because I think that's super cool. Zenko Ring, one of my favorite systems to look at. So we've now targeted it. You can see it here on my little targeting panel. We're going to get in line with it. And we're going to start looking for it. Now, we could just fly aimlessly, but I know where it is, so I've targeted it. So we're going to head to it. And we're going to start heading there. This, again, for me, I like to turn on Super Cruise. So as we can see, it's on. And now we will essentially fly through space on our way to Gitzenko Ring. And it's just going to kind of take us there. Now, again, I could fly around, I could mess around and go places. As we look around, we'll see other signal sources, other items of interest that will show up as we sort of move closer within this system. Signal sources like that. We can also see other ships, and there's a whole other aspect to this, right? Like, so if I see other ships, like, I guess that's just a signal, probably a fight going on or something. It means something's happening there. But what's neat is you can see other ships going by you at different light speeds, and you can sort of attack them through space as they're going through light speed. And how that works is you I guess it's called interdicting, where essentially you try to knock them out of light speed. And that's really fun. You do that if you're hunting pirates or you're doing bounty hunting. So there's actually, that's a ship moving through right now. It's behind my panel, so it's kind of in the way. But those are signal sources. That's somebody flying around. You can kind of see them behind that panel there. You can tell because that's sort of the look of another sort of jump drive. Piece of light sort of moving through. Yep, it's a type transport. Uh-oh. We should probably target Zenko Ring again. There we are. So we don't miss our jump. The computer was like, uh-oh, you're going to crash somewhere. So it's going to do all the assisting. It's going to maintain our speed, maintain our distance, and then drop us out at the right time. That's essentially what it does. Again, you can do all of this, and it's actually kind of fun to do that at first, but then sort of as you've played for a little bit, you just I personally find that to be more enjoyable to have it sort of choose those things. So while that's happening, I can either plot my next course, like set up my loadout, get my guy ready. I can... And I guess I never talked about this panel. This is kind of the U panel, right? Like, so here's my character. It has sort of the ships that I can launch. I have 2 different sets, so you can have 16 total for this ship. You can even have little SRVs, which are kind of like little, I don't know, jeeps and such that you can take onto planets and go driving around. And then you can see this is the NPC character that I take with me when I'm fighting stuff. She's an expert. So pretty good. Trying to get her to a higher level, so that's why I do take her out when I go fighting. And we're slowly getting closer to Gzenko Ring. But yeah, we are in that sort of faster than light speed experience, but my goodness, I do think this is a super, super pretty game. One thing that we haven't really touched on yet is you can customize your ship. So you can choose like the paint, the lights, like what your like beams when your ship is going forward, what color is that? All kinds of things in this game can be customized down to basically anything you can think of. So it looks like Gzenko Ring probably orbits one of these areas. Then there's another class ship. We're going to start to get closer to Gzenko Ring, and then Shumanda B is right here, so that planet's really close to it. It orbits it. For me, I'm probably just going to refuel a few things, kind of get out and show you the ship and what we can do when we're on these various stations or these various ships. And we'll kind of talk about how you can customize your ship and go into those spaces. So we're nearly there. Again, this is kind of one of those times where I'm like, you know what? It's going to take me a little bit. Why don't we get some water? So here's Gzenko Ring. And she's big. She's not the biggest, but I think it's a really unique station. So it's got its own orbit, and we're going to try to land it. So much like the other part of this, you can customize your ship to do whatever you want. For me, it's a thing I can target, and I'm going to do request docking. So I have a docking computer as well that will now do auto dock. And it'll kind of take me around, and while it's doing that, let's look at sort of the scale of this. And I think it's so cool. So you can see there's some advertisements. There's another ship sort of right there that's going to go dock in, but they have advertisements because this is, you know, a living, breathing world. But the view when you go into these things and the scale is just so cool. And I've been told, I haven't done it yet, that doing this in VR is next level because of how much the scale actually feels real. So we're going to land inside this area, and all stations are different. There are many different kinds, so you can land on the outsides, the insides, depending on the size of it and the types of ships it can support. But here we go inside this space. So we land in here, and then you're greeted to all the lights, all the pieces, and we will kind of zoom out and watch. So we're going to land on 11. They even said landing pad 11. You can see here on the thing, so the computer's going to do all of it, but you otherwise would have to find that. Boom! Like a dainty butterfly, we landed. Now, of course, we did get into a fight. Our ship could use a little bit of love, and we need some fuel. So we're going to do these quick hotkeys, run through those, and I always think it's fun to go in the hangar. So it'll then take our ship off the landing pads. That way other people can use these landing pads. It kind of puts us in the garage. I just think this looks so cool. Right, so now our ship's going to be tossed around, put into storage, and we'll get parked. That way somebody else can use that station, and we'll be moved about. From there, we can then obviously go to the surface, go to the starport services. So starport services. Where do you get the missions? Where do you do things? Where do you buy things? Here, in this sort of display. And this is kind of a legacy of before the game had that sort of first-person walking around experience, you had these mission boards in these different spaces. So missions, this is where you can look for community goals, passenger lounge, and then mission boards. So all kinds of things to be done. It's a very deep game. But this essentially tells me here's some of the missions that I can take in this system to try to help this system out. And I've already worked with some of these groups. There's many groups operating in many systems. A little bit about like sort of this group, the Federation. There's a independent group, some travel. They probably take people about, and they're always sort of different. And then gangs are usually at the end. I don't do too much of them because typically I'm hunting their characters, so it doesn't go super well when they figure out it's me. And then from there you can find categories, right? So if I'm looking for combat missions, I can then scroll through like kill this guy for 700 some thousand, and it's in the station. It's in this system, so it's not so bad. We can go look for that person, hunt them down. That's a big one, 39 million. Probably requires me to take down a lot of people. Yep, they want to seek and destroy basically 81 ships from the Frigga Gold Netcoms faction. So they really want this group just wiped off the map. Definitely something we can do, but it's way more fun if you then do that with like a wing. And a wing is essentially a group of people, and all of you accept it. And then you can be paid in 3 different ways. There's the financial, which is at 39 million. They can pay you in sort of some money and then some units, which can be sort of used to engineer your stuff. And then you can also take some bio waste, or they'll give you like essentially different kinds of like some of these will pay off in like I'll take less money, but then that'll mean our reputation could be better with this group, so I'll get better missions in the future, stuff like that. Kill this guy for 24. Most of these all seem to be paying out pretty similar. That's probably because I'm fairly friendly with them. But yes, that's sort of the missions thing, and there's all kinds. Transport stuff. Take things from one spot to the other. You can do this yourself too. You can track all the sales data for different systems and find out where that's supply and demand. Freelancing missions, like these are all illegal, so you then have to sort of understand, like, am I going to come back to this system? Operations, like on the ground. Do you wanna go hunting or take down the turrets or all that kind of stuff, or just give them money straight up. I can also sell data. So I've been places this system has not seen or wanted to learn more about, so they'll accept stuff like that. Nothing I can do with this group at the moment. But what did we do? We took some bounties. So let's look to the police, the administration, this guy. And we're going to turn in those bounties. So we go down to our bounties. We killed one of those guys. Let's redeem it for 500,000. Boom. And we just got our money in this system. So that's great. So this is kind of like a board of missions here, and then local news if you want to learn about what's going on in the system. And then there's your ship on the right. So one thing, sort of that advanced maintenance, we took some hits. Most of the stuff is fine, but you can still do some minor pieces. We'll knock that out. 240 credits, not too bad. And then you have all these other like little elements. From there, you can outfit your ship. So every station has its own things they sell. This is my ship, so I'm looking at the hard points. That's essentially your weapons. So you saw my 3 beams, my beam cannon, my beam lasers, and then I had 2 chain guns. So this ship has a total of 5 what's called hard points. You can see them on the top left there. Essentially, it's how many like weapons do you want. And many ships are different, but that's just what this one has. There's also sort of utility mounts. I just have shield boosters. So for me, on my ship, I made it a point to just focus on essentially shields and then have some different armor. So my shield, my armor here is there. My power plant, how much stuff I can put on it before I sort of overheat. My thrusters, frame shift drive, which lets me do different jumps. Life support's pretty good. I put quite a bit into that because I bought the most expensive one I could for this ship because I have had my canopy blow off. And then you only have so much time to get back before you die. Power distribution, sensors. You can customize all of this. Your fuel tank, your size. There's also optional internals, right? So I have a shield generator. Fighter hangar. That's where we had those ships come out. Hull reinforcement. So I already had the shield stuff. Now I need to reinforce the hull. Shield cell banks. So that lets me kind of recharge my shield if it's going down. Fuel scoop like I referenced. Advanced docking computer. Super cruise. All kinds of stuff. And you can go shopping. If we say we want to replace, we can see what this system sells. And this system doesn't sell a lot, but they do have interdictors, so I can drop people out. Cargo, if I want to have a cargo ship instead. Limpets are like little robots that'll do stuff for you. Like they'll replace stuff, they'll break stuff, they'll fix things. Passenger cabins, because I want to take people on a tour. Planetary hangars for vehicles. Repair limpets, shield banks, refineries for mining. Do I do recon, shield generators, surface scanners, anything you can think of in sort of the science fiction world, they probably have it here. Or at least they have it in the game. This place may not. Then, of course, who doesn't want to dress up their Barbie? So I can see my little ships that I carry, and then I also see my ship. But you can then spend some more real-world dollars, or some fake, depending on how much money you earn, on skins. So of course you can, right? You can customize your ship till your heart's content. Actually, some of these are really cool. And different ships have different types of paint available to them. There was actually a really neat one that sort of glowed in the dark that I really liked. It might not have been for this ship though. Yeah, probably is for a different one. But that, again, is more things. You can put decals, weapons, ship kits, identification numbers. You can switch what your ship looks like. You can even put accessories inside the dashboard. Little bobbleheads. It's a deep game. So this place may not sell. Oh, they do. Excellent. So you can see my 3 ships here are kind of scattered throughout the system, and I can deliver them to me from wherever system I'm in. I can pay that, and it'll take 9 minutes for it to get here. But I bet it costs a lot. Yeah, it'll cost me just basically our bounty, 478,000. But I could call this in. This guy is massive compared to my current ship, but he's my shipping one. He's my big cargo plane. And then I also have this one, which I kind of regret buying. It's very expensive, but it was an awesome fighter. It still is. It's just pure fighting. It has like no jump drive at all, so it can't really go very far. Uses the fuel up quick, but she is just armed to the teeth. And it's a pretty cool ship. I find myself balancing the need to be able to go places and fight stuff. And this one really is kind of get there, do your stuff, but use something else to have gotten there and have it shipped instead. It can also have an additional multi-crew. So some ships can have more. This one can have 1 additional person, but it doesn't have no fighter bay like my current one does. Where the Python has an additional ship, but again, no fighter bay, which is so funny because it's huge, but it has the most cargo of the ships that I have. And then my crate, the one that we currently have. This is my current ship. It also has 1, and that's because the fighter bay is already on there, so that's why it's kind of showing those things. But essentially, it has all the good stuff there. But they have many other ships. The starting ship is the Sidewinder. Actually super cute. I stuck with it for a very long time. Kind of a nice all-rounder to get started with. There's the Eagle, which is kind of that initial fighter. A hauler, if you're interested. It kind of, think of these 2 here, and this one here as well, as kind of like your jump points from the Sidewinder, which is your starting default ship. You know, do you want to get into fighting? Do you want to get into hauling? Do you want to get to exploring? And then you can build up from there. With a Cobra, I owned a Cobra for a very long time, and I still kind of miss it. It also allows multi-crew. Before I'd made kind of the big money that I have now, or my 3 ships that I own, this was my ship for hunting bounty hunters, or bounties, and it was fun. I still miss it. I'll probably buy one just to like relive those moments, because if it's a smaller ship, they're more nimble. Big old transporters. You can see we're starting to get up there in expenses. But that's just the cost for the ship. The components alone usually cost more. Keelback's a big old beast. And there's a lot of really neat ships here. Actually, this is nice. This place sells quite a few. Scout's great for sort of exploration. And they kind of say on the left-hand side, what's it for? Where can it land? The Vulture, excellent little fighter. If you really want to start getting up there in that space. The ASP Explorer, this guy's got the range. It's an excellent ship too. They're all kind of great. It really just depends what do you want to do. How many hard points do you need? Do you want to have a lot of weapons? Do you want to have a storage? Do you want to have a really big fuel tank? Then you get into ones that aren't available here, but they still show them. And some of them you have to be allied with certain groups and work with them so they can then sell you their stuff. Like the Viper. A friend of mine has this one. He uses it, and it's a cool fighter. It's actually kind of cheap too. My goodness, but it's not available here. Different Viper versions, and what's fun is they all have their own lore and their own like companies. Like this is DeLacy, Lacan. So you know that's kind of fun. I think that's a fancy looking ship, and there's all kinds of cool videos people have made about these things. So you kind of pick what you want. The Dolphin's pure passenger, and it looks awesome. It's got a lot of space. I think it has a really cool interior too, which I've always wanted to try. Another explorer ship, and then of course you can kind of like see the details, right? So this guy has only 3 hard points. He's an explorer. He's not meant to be fighting. It has a massive, probably fuel tank, all that good stuff. The Imperial Courier, I think, is one of the faster ships. I've blown up many Federal dropships in my day, but they are good fighters. I've not seen too many chieftains, but I think those are monsters. Federal assault ship again. Imperial clipper. Now we're getting into some bigger stuff, right? So now the landing pad requirement is large. There's Crusaders, so kind of Imperial versus Alliance. You can kind of think of those two ships. The Challenger. There's just so much and so many stories you can kind of tell of your own, of like what those things are. The Crate Phantom. I've not ever seen one of these. I have a crate, but not this one. I think this might have been a special one. But this is the ship that I own. So the base cost of this is 45 million. We'll look to see what mine costs now with all the components, but that's it. 2 cruise ships, compatible fighter bay, all the good stuff. Orca, I think it's another transporter, but it sure looks cool. Fer-de-Lance, that's my big fighter I was talking about. It's just straight for combat. And they even say at the bottom, consumers are advised that the Fer-de-Lance is unsuited to activities other than combat, and they are not wrong. The Mamba, another. You might notice this. So many of the names are named after snakes and birds and stuff, but like so many snakes. The Python. So this is one of my favorite ships. It made me the money that I have now, the 602 million in the top right there. And this thing was awesome. And it looks really cool. I still really do like it. I could probably turn it into a fighter also. Because it doesn't have a fighter bay, I didn't really feel the need to do that. So that's why I bought my crate and decided to kind of have multiple ships throughout the space. But you see we're really getting into money now, right? The Type Heavy. And this guy's a huge. They have requirements. The Beluga liner. Like, this thing probably makes a lot of money if you fill it up and you put people on it. And then you take them places. 124 million. This thing, I want to know how many hard points. Look at all those hard points. So 4 large. That means big turrets and lasers. 2 medium, or 3 medium, and 2 small. That thing is armed to the teeth when it's all filled up. I bet it just shreds when it points its stuff places. My sort of goal ship, the thing I want to get to, is the Anaconda. That's the one we destroyed. That paid off $500,000 in the bounty alone, right? It has 3 crew seats. It has a compatible fighter. It can have a ton of fighters on it. This guy, it slaps. It's just awesome. So many utility mounts, so many optionals. Like, you can just fill this guy to the base. And that's just what's like currently there. A lot of things aren't even turned on yet. It's an awesome ship. And that's the Federal Corvette. Sorry, the Anaconda was what I was really pointing at. But the Federal Corvette is supposed to be quite good too. But I want this Anaconda. I think they turn like a brick. But it would be awesome. Fill it with turrets and you'll have a good time. Corvette's kind of the answer to it. And then the Imperial Cutter as well. That's the end of this sort of list. But these things get into the billions. I think my spec'd out Anaconda build is 146 plus another, I don't know where it ends up, but essentially it's just under $1 billion in cost just to make it and have it spec'd out the way I'd like. But it's really cool. And why I wanted to show this is I just wanted to show the customization that's available in this game and the stories you can tell on your own. You can be a trader, you can be a warrior, you can be all kinds of cool stuff. Or you can just join a friend on their ship and have fun on theirs and drop in anytime. And arm the turrets, be in the little ships and fly around. That kind of stuff, I think, is just so cool. And this game is so open-ended. Now let's get off of our ship and kind of check out Gazenko Ring and look for some missions. So just like before, when we were on that planet, now we're in here in this bay. And again, the scale is just ridiculous. You can see different stuff being advertised. Those are actual ships for the game. But let's head in. But yeah, I just think it's such a cool game, and it looks so good for when it came out. That is because they've probably consistently been updating it, adding other pieces. They added the ability to land on planets. They're kind of taking this from another direction. So let's head into the lounge, get in here, take this up. And from there, we're going to look at some of the missions and some of the other things we can do. And again, every single station is different and provides different sort of things. Every single place is different. But we can see here, there's frontline solutions, there's some genomics, there's supplies, the pirates bars where you can get some of those things, and then transportation. You can just like get off your ship, take transportation somewhere else, and go do missions there. Frontline Solutions is kind of like the battle, like you can join the Civil War if the area is doing those things. This area might not have any of those. Let's see.
Just so you know, there's no active conflicts at the moment.
So I don't have any combat bonds, so we're not going to do anything here, but there's always more war. We can see some of these other discussions. Supplies, like so if I'm buying weapons and stuff for my character. You can go to these terminals and customize the way you look and all your stuff.
You look like someone who can handle themselves.
This area is... I always forget what this one does. I'm interested in your services. Oh yeah, so they sell ships upgrades. So you can do kind of the same stuff we did before. This area is where you go to sort of... If you've been scanning and looking for bio life, they'll take that information and buy it from you. In here is where you kind of get your sort of low-key, dangerous missions and stuff. You can trade on like the black market, and then you can haggle with people. So let's talk to this person.
Make the system a lot safer if you do this.
So they want me to exterminate somebody, and this is probably a landing one, so we'll go looking for them.
This is everything else I can tell you.
So you kind of have it in conversation aspect. So it's in the system Calor, Raiders of Calor, faction type members, target count 9. We have to eliminate them. We can then ask how much does it pay? Because I don't know these people that well, I don't have a very good reputation with them, but they'll either pay me in sort of financial, surveillance, or give me some influence. They'll give me more influence than the standard financial, so one of those three. I can join in right away. I want to discuss the payment.
Everyone's out for themselves, aren't they?
Right, so then we can negotiate. And depending on my success, it'll kind of tell you, right? So can you offer a little more? Just give me a little bit more money. Do you have more to offer? Can you pay more? I'm going to need to have a much better offer, and you can kind of kill the deal. You can say, no, my chances of this working aren't great because my reputation's not awesome. But you get the idea there.
Let me give you some more details.
We'll leave them alone for now.
I could have really used your help.
Then you take those missions and you go do them. And this is really neat. So we came in from here, right? So we came in from right there, landed on one of those launch pads, or landing pads, and that was that. Overall, again, there's just so much to this game. I could spend so much time just talking about what's happening here, what's happening at these terminals, right? So this is where you go to see your character. You can edit your loadout. You can see your guy, choose what you look like, customize your face, your hollow me, right? So this is who I am, and we can then choose like what your facial hair looks like. Are you male? All those fun stuff. Vehicle extras, all those kind of things. We can travel places, go meet people. Right now I'm kind of in that solo mode, so I'm not actually seeing other human players, but you would see other human players in these spaces too. So there's just a lot. For me, again, I kind of do one little thing at a time. I just enjoy the pirate work, looking for people that are sort of breaking the law, go for them, or I'll go to combat zones and try to pick a side and fight in like the massive fights. And that's when there's far more ships in the space, and it does sort of feel like that Star Wars experience. But that concludes it for today. We'll probably do a full-on combat one later, where we kind of talk about flying, targeting enemies, all that kind of stuff. But I do appreciate everyone's time. If you made it through the end, I know this is probably a longer video. If this was boring and you're like, hey, we could probably, streamline this a bit, share that. If you really like this and you think, hey, you'd like to try this and you want to fly around and try stuff together, let me know. I'm always interested in trying this with somebody else too. Either way, thank you so much, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye.